It takes a minute. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Tzehoraim Tovim. Thank you for joining us for Time to Change Climate Change Part 2. We are going to be joined by our instructor, Tania Dadoun. I will read her bio once again. Has been an English and Hebrew teacher for over 20 years, lived on the East Coast for about 10 years, and now lives in Tel Aviv with her husband and 3 children. She is an environmental activist devoted to saving as many mature trees in her city, as well as in her country and across the earth. She has been co-leading Critical Mass Tel Aviv Yafo, a monthly urban bicycle ride for the past 3 years, and co-founded, here we go, Tnuat Ofanaim, yes, I speak Hebrew, an unofficial organization that acted out to promote bicycle lanes in Tel Aviv. I'd love to hear a little bit about that, actually. She also volunteers for the school PTO, currently co-running a campaign to cease the use of plastic and disposable dishes in school across the city. Tania started studying climate change when she joined Parents for Climate, a local Parents for Future group, and is currently taking more classes in the Tania College of Education. She is a UConn alumni and earned her master's degree in educational technologies in the Open University Israel with honors. So thank you very much, Tania, for coming again and completing the program. We've already learned so much from you, and we look forward to hearing the program today. Voila.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming back. And is there anybody here that wasn't here last time, or?
So everybody that's here right now, I think, was here last time, except for Ellen Lulk, who's actually Gail's daughter, who's joining us this very moment.
Hi, great, awesome. But she's a kind of an expert, isn't she?
She is a kind of an expert.
Isn't she the one who does the research?
Gail, chime in.
You're on mute.
You're not allowed. You have to unmute yourself.
I mean, she could chime in for herself, I guess. She's if she's on.
Well, she is, but let's give her a moment before we put her on the spot.
I don't know what you want me to
Okay.
say. Or I didn't hear anything.
Hi, Ellen.
I just joined. Hi.
Hi.
No, we were just saying that you're the only one on that wasn't on last time. And somebody said, and I don't remember who said what, but somebody said, isn't she the one that's really an expert in this? And I said, let her speak for herself.
You do research, right, in this field, or?
I do. Yeah, I study methane in the ocean. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert on all of climate change to the environment, but I know a lot about a very specific part of it.
Excellent. So maybe she can chime in when and if comfortable at some point.
Totally. Please feel welcome to. So we've last time we're going to pick up from kind of from the oceans where we left off, but just to remember what the main cause of the problem is the increase in greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide. And we also said that carbon dioxide is clear, it's transparent, and we can't see it. And there's really, you only need a little bit more than in parts per million. You only need a little bit more to have catastrophic consequences. And so we talked about carbon dioxide as being part of greenhouse gases, as being part of something, a natural process that we need carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to keep the earth warm. But if we have too much of it and too many other greenhouse gases, such as methane and other things that humans produce, then that's a problem because it causes global warming. And so increase in global gases equals increase in global warming. And so we talked about, we're not going to go into detail on that, but we talked about the consequences, which are, and excuse me, we talked about another human thing that we do that is very destructive, and that is deforestation. And so all of that together causes a great global temperature rise. And we talked about 1.2 degrees Celsius, 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. This is where we're at right now since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And this already has an effect, but it's just like coronavirus, it's exponential. And so right now what we're seeing is 1.2. We don't know where this is going to lead us. You know that there has been a crisis in wildlife, in a sense that we have destroyed about 60% of all species on Earth since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And we talked about the fact that this global warming, we've already seen some effects in weather. We've seen weather effects, and we've seen extreme weather events, and we saw some examples in the United States. We talked about droughts and desertification. We've talked about floods and wildfires. And we said that this has already started an effect of climate migrants, people that have lost their home across the world. And we're talking about people who want to go back to their home, but they can't live in their home because they can't sustain themselves anymore. And we asked, where are these people gonna go? And we ended off here with the oceans. And then we did that so quickly. So I was just thinking we could maybe review that again. What do you guys think? Is that something that you guys feel like, okay, great, I see that sign, great. So as the earth warms, the ocean warms. And what happens is because the ocean is dark, it absorbs the heat more, and so it warms faster than the ice that we're gonna see in a second. And so when the more ocean is exposed, the more darker colors are exposed, the more heat the ocean absorbs. So if I have more ice, I have a cooler ocean. If I have less ice, I have a warmer ocean. I have an ocean that absorbs more heat. And as we can see, there's already been an increase in temperature in the ocean. And so if this is what we just said, if I have more ice in the water will stay cooler. If I have more heat, the water will become warmer. And so what's happening is both in the North Pole and in the South Pole, we're losing a lot of ice. In this image, we can see that in Antarctica, so that's the South Pole, we see that in this image, we can see that the blues and purples, ice is like water. It flows, this ice here, it flows a lot more slowly than water, but it also flows. And so here we see a very rapid flow. That means that we're losing ice sheets. And so we're also losing snow cover here. And so the ocean, the warmer ocean is seeping into the ice and making the ice melt more and more. We see a glacier in Alaska that used to be covered in ice, covered in snow, and it's not, and it doesn't get covered in snow anymore. Not in the winters, not any time, and that snow is not going to come back. And this is hard evidence of global warming. And so in the North Pole also, we're seeing glacial ice sheets retreating, and in the South Pole, and we see the decline every year, and it's really only getting worse. By the way, all this information is from almost all this information is from NASA. I said that in the previous session, but I'm going to say that again. And NASA has a lot of hardcore evidence that they use not only from satellites, but also from planes and radars. They go down to the field and they measure ice. They take ice like tubes out, and they see how much carbon dioxide is in each layer. So this information is really it's all, I mean, it's all from NASA and from scientists that you can, I'm going to send you the bibliography at the end. You can go into this. And so in these images, again, we can see Greenland, we can see the North Pole, we can see Antarctica, we can see the South Pole. We can see that there's no ice here. There should be ice here everywhere. These mountains should be covered in ice, and they're not anymore. And this causes, we talked about gigatons last time, so I'm not going to go into that right now, but this is a lot of ice loss. This is what it looks like. This is 1 gigaton. Here's some more images where we can see that the more ice we lose, basically, the more ice we lose, the warmer the oceans get, and the higher the sea level gets. And what does that mean when sea level gets higher? We can see that since basically the Industrial Revolution, we've seen a 20 centimeter, wait, I need to read that because I don't know what that is, 7.88 inches. That's really only the beginning, because there's only been a 1.2 temperature increase. And we're going to take a look at the Paris Agreement in a moment and see what that means. Another problem with the ice melting, with the ice sheets melting, both in the North Pole and in the South Pole, is ocean acidification. Because the water in the ice water, both in the North Pole and in the South Pole, is sweet water. Snow water is sweet water. It's precipitation. It's like precipitation. It's like rain. And so when this sweet water enters the salty ocean, the ocean has an imbalance in its pH. Its pH balance is distorted. And so the natural minerals and the salts and if it's not in the right balance, a lot of creatures that have shells, shrimp and a lot of creatures that have shells can't survive in this new kind of water. And what's worse off are the coral reefs, because the coral reefs are home to algae, and the algae is what gives them that color, and to plankton, and they are home to so many creatures that are part of the food web, the food chain. So if we're losing the coral reefs, then we're also going to lose all the animals that live in the coral reefs. And if we lose the animals that live in the coral reefs, then we're going to lose a lot of ocean creatures, because it's a food chain. And so let's just take a quick look at how important coral reefs are. And I hope you guys can hear my sound, and if you don't, then let me know, because I think I'm sharing with sound. I don't know what I just accepted. Sorry about that. What just happened here? Okay.
Unless you live
Can you hear?
Unless you live by an ocean, it is hard to visualize what it's like. If you go underwater, it's totally another world. It's almost like being an astronaut. One of the things I work on is similar to climate change, but it's called ocean acidification. When you add CO2 to the atmosphere, more of it will move to the surface ocean. It's exactly the way they make carbonated drinks. If you take a bottle and you put water in it, and you increase the amount of carbon dioxide in that bottle and then cap it, it moves into the water or the liquid that's in that bottle. We call it acidification because the pH is going down. My main focus is the impacts of this lowering of the pH, particularly on corals and coral reefs. Coral is an animal made out of calcium carbonate. It looks like a tree or a rock. If you just drop a little drop of acid on any of those, you'll watch them bubble away and dissolve. It's not that dramatic in the ocean, but it's just slowly becoming more difficult for these organisms to secrete their shells. Another problem that coral reefs are experiencing is something called coral bleaching. Small algae live right in their tissues. Corals get energy from the sun that way. If the coral gets stressed, it kicks those algae out. Warming in the oceans is causing these corals to become more and more stressed, weaker, or dying. It turns from a beautiful color to white because the algae give the coral its color, and you can see the skeleton underneath. Why would we care? There are estimates that 1/3 of all the world's fish species use a coral reef at some time or another. They provide food for millions, if not billions, of people. They have a lot of cures for disease.
Okay, we're going to continue watching that in a little bit. And so there's ocean acidification, there's coral bleaching, corals are suffering. And what's important to know is that the ocean produces about 50% of oxygen on Earth. So it's true that, you know, creatures in the oceans also need that oxygen, but a lot of the oxygen that's produced in the ocean is from plankton, from phytoplankton, from plant plankton and algae, and so it's very, very important to make sure that we don't destroy our oceans, and we don't, you know, if there's too much. The ocean also absorbs carbon dioxide. So if we produce too much carbon dioxide, and the ocean warms, then we're hurting the phytoplankton, we're hurting the algae, we're hurting all the creatures that create oxygen in the ocean. And so ocean warming is a huge problem for ocean rise, for ocean acidification, and for hurting the creatures in the ocean. Another thing that we looked at that's caused by global warming is permafrost thawing. Permafrost is ice, is earth that is frozen for a few years. Now, it could thaw, or parts of it could thaw in the summer, but in the winter it remains frozen and covered in ice for a few years, and then it's a cycle where it gets refrozen. But because of the Earth has been warming, excuse me, a lot of these surfaces have been exposed. A lot of permafrost has. This is all in Canada, in Russia. Okay, these are this is up in the north, and so this is very, very dangerous for a few reasons. The first is that there's methane in there, and I'm going to show you a video in a moment about that. But it's not just the methane. There's also a lot of decayed matter in there, which also releases carbon dioxide when it's exposed, because when it's frozen, then it's stuck in there. The carbon dioxide doesn't come out. When it's exposed into the air, it does come out. A lot of bacteria are trapped and frozen in there. And when the permafrost thaws and the snow melts, then all these bacteria are released into the air, and a lot of diseases are actually in there that that we're exposed to now. But like I said, the most dangerous thing right now is the methane that is trapped in the permafrost right now. But when it's released, this is what permafrost looks like a chunk of permafrost that just, you see it's all exposed here, but here it's still frozen and it just melting. This is what happens. This is an example of where we see how methane is released, how close it is to the surface.
Methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. A molecule of methane is 25 times stronger than carbon dioxide. Methane is formed in millions of lakes around the Arctic where permafrost is thawing. And each year, these lakes are emitting already tremendous amounts of methane. But when we look at how much carbon is in permafrost still frozen, and the potential for that permafrost to thaw in the future, we estimate that more than 10 times the amount of methane that's right now in the atmosphere will come out of these lakes.
So actually, methane is an even more dangerous gas than carbon dioxide for the atmosphere. It's not.
This is a story about a world obsessed with stuff.
Oh, I think that's me.
It's a story about a system
Sorry
in
about
crisis. We're trashing the planet, we're trashing each other, and we're not even having fun.
Sorry.
The good thing is that when we start to understand the system, we
Okay. Sorry about that. So methane is actually an even more dangerous gas than carbon dioxide as far as a greenhouse gas. So, for example, in Israel now, they're saying, oh, it's natural gas. It's better for the environment because it's not carbon dioxide. And when people breathe in too much carbon dioxide, they get diseases, but not when they breathe in methane. This is true, but methane is even worse, is a stronger greenhouse for the environment than carbon dioxide. So this is not good. And so we looked at all the major problems, and the question is, are we equally responsible? I mean, are all people on Earth equally responsible? What do you guys think? We kind of touched on it last time, but you guys want to say something about that before we
Maybe unshare screen for a second so people can,
yes,
so we can
yes,
see people and people can see
yes,
each
'cause
other.
I can see people, so yes.
Okay.
I think we're all responsible, maybe not equally, but we should all do what we can. You know, corporations bigger than us can do more, but we can do some. And it's like the Jewish saying, you know, you can do, you don't have to solve the problem, but you have to work toward that, do a little.
Absolutely. If everybody did a little at the same time, that would definitely make a difference. Do you guys want to add something to that? Is that okay? Okay, we'll come back to listening to you guys. We'll come back to that. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Hold on. And wait a minute, I'm going to, okay, I see what I did wrong. 1 second, excuse me. Am I sharing my screen? Wait.
Yes, you are, but it's a PowerPoint.
Yes, 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Share screen. Seriously? Okay. Here we go. Wait. Okay. So are we equally responsible? So are we equally responsible? Well, we can see that some countries are a lot more responsible than other countries. And that's a big difference. That's a very big difference between Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, for example, and Kenya, or even India, which is a great manufacturer for so many things, mostly that serve us, of course. And so when we look at emissions, carbon dioxide emissions per capita, we see that really some of us are more responsible than others. And we can see that the US military, for example, emits more carbon dioxide than other complete entire countries. So, I mean, we're not all exactly equally responsible. And this is actually an interactive map, but you can look into that if you like. But just to understand that you could see that the red here, the dark red, are the highest emitting countries, and so really the countries that emit the least amount of carbon dioxide are also the countries that suffer the most from climate change. And so all these areas here that are really, you know, in South America and in Africa that are suffering the most, they're also the countries that are emitting the least. So we're not exactly all equally responsible. And this is this graph is also called the champagne glass graph because really it's the 10% of the richest people, and it's really the 20%. Okay, the 20% of the richest people are responsible for more than 50%, are responsible for about 70% of all carbon dioxide emissions. So 20% of the world population is responsible for 70% of emissions. And we see that the poorest people, which are 50% of the world, which are the poorest people, are really only responsible for about 10% of emissions.
So it would be interesting to see in this image which countries belong to the top. Was that in the previous map? In the previous the map of the world?
Here. We're up here. We're the 70%.
Right.
We're the 20%. We're here somewhere. Because we fly airplanes and we have running electricity. You know, we have water every time we open the tap. We have that magic trick called water, running water. So we're up here. That's us. And this is not exactly climate change, but it is what the world has become. And so most of the world, 68.7% of the world population owns 3% of the world's wealth. Whereas 41%, let's say 80% of the world's wealth is owned by less than 10% of the population. So this is another absurdity, you know, a complete contradiction to our values, really, I think. I don't know. My values. This makes no sense. And so, okay, now we know this, but how long have we known this for? And what are we doing about it? And so President Lyndon Johnson was actually the first decision maker to have been exposed to this information. And following the information that was brought to him by James Hansen, who is still, who's a scientist and who's still very active and still very informative, provides a lot of information. He brought this to his attention. This huge, not huge, but this Frontline came out in the New York Times. This was in 1988. So people in the government have known about this. What he did is he consulted with experts, and he did want to do something about it, but nothing really ever happened. I guess, I don't know, wasn't enough support, or there wasn't, we talked about last time, we're going to go into it again this time. We talked about what's stopping people, what companies that are stopping this climate crisis from being exposed. But really the IPCC, ever since that, this already started, people already started knowing about this in the 1980s. And then the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, was formed after World War II, when the world decided that, war is bad and we want to do good things. There's a climate change. And so all of the scientists, if people ever tell you that, the IPCC is, they're democratic, or they're this or they're that. No, they are people who volunteer their time to review work from scientists all across the world. The IPCC doesn't actually produce the research. It's research. They take research from all around the world, and they review it, and they publish it. They put it together into reports, and so 97% of scientists in the world have this consensus of this climate crisis. 97% of all scientists in the world agree that there's a climate crisis. And that it's man-made, that it's human, that it's all caused by humans.
I think this is a good time just to be on the time check again. It's we're 20 minutes before the end of the program, and I want to leave questions at the end. And I also I was hoping that you could share possibly some of your journey towards activism, so that we can all at least follow the example, or be inspired by the example, or just hear about the example. So if we could kind of wrap up this section and navigate towards the other section of the program.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Sure thing. So we've known about this. Scientists have been warning humanity, and have been sending requests to help to help the world, and to stop this behavior, this business as usual behavior. We cannot continue this business as usual behavior. We need to make a change. Greta Thunberg in 2018 has started awakening teens and people across the world. And she's given a few speeches, and she's really inspired a lot of people in the world to speak out, to act out. And this really brings us to what I hope that you guys can do to make a difference in this world. Because right now the situation is that we fund fossil fuel companies. we give fossil fuel companies money. And we have to stop doing that. Some people have already tried to do that and they've been arrested. So we need to get our politicians to do that. We need to get our politicians to stop deforestation and to stop the burning of fossil fuels, coal and natural gas, and to move to renewable energy. Renewable.
So, I'm sorry. I have a question. I know it's not question time,
Yes.
but I personally would appreciate, and maybe the rest of everybody here would appreciate, other than just voting for, I almost said Knesset members, but government officials that support this kind. Is there anything else that we can do to kind of vote with our feet in a way to not support
Absolutely,
these
absolutely,
other
absolutely,
companies? Like, I mean, other than
absolutely,
drive less and, because we do
absolutely,
fill up our gas. We live in New Jersey. It's highway city. We can't get anywhere
absolutely,
without our cars.
absolutely. So renewable energy, if renewable energy, I mean, don't get me wrong, we do need to change our lifestyles. We all do, okay? But absolutely using renewable energy such as solar energy, or in some places wind energy, then it's a completely different ballgame. And so if we replant our forests and we use solar energy, then we're going to change the world. I wanted to show you what solutions are for coral reefs. Maybe we'll have a session 3. So before we reach all these tipping points, what can we do? We can see that during the coronavirus, emissions did go down. So like Galit said, other than voting, what is it that we can do? There's the Green New Deal. And so we can promote the Green New Deal as well as, other papers that other people have written as solutions for the world, how to move to renewable energies. They're out there. The solutions are out there. We need to get them moving. And so how do we create a situation where we stop funding fossil fuel companies and we start, how do we get how do we get this budget, this 2.9 trillion a year? Well, we have the money's there. There's $5.2 trillion going yearly into the fossil fuel companies. So the money's there. How do we get it somewhere else? We can, other than things that we can personally do to make a difference. We actually talked about that after the recording was finished last time, but what can we do? We can divest our money. We can divert it. We can move our money from companies that support Exxon, Chevron, BP, okay? They're all of our pension funds, for example, in Israel. This is something that I'm trying to do with teachers in Israel, is move our pension funds. We're only at the beginning of it, trying to move our pension funds from investment in companies that invest in burning of fossil fuel companies into green companies. And so this is a very long process because we're trying to do it with the teachers union. But this is something private people can do. They can take their money out of funds and pension funds and saving accounts or saving funds or whatever you guys might have. Even if it's a small amount, whatever it is that you have, you move it from a place that supports fossil fuel burning to a place that doesn't support fossil fuel burning. Another thing, if you guys want to donate, there are tons of initiatives out there. This is an Israeli initiative of purchasing land in across the world, and it's and you vote if you go into it. Even if you donate $1, you have the same voice of what land is going to be bought as a person who donated, I don't know, $100 or $1,000. So there are lots of initiatives and lots of things that we can do differently. We can get educated. That's something that we have to do, because when we have knowledge, then we know where to move on to. And just an example, the Union of of Concerned Scientists, they have so much information in there, and they you know, they can refer you of what things you can do to take action. So can other groups that are a nonprofit that don't even have a fund. They don't have their leadership is all organic. It's there's no leadership. It's all hubs and groups. You know, there's XR, and their demands are from the government. Tell the truth, act now, and go beyond politics. Have people involved in decision making.
Are those links? Could you share those links with us afterwards? Because I don't think I ever shared I think people asked last time if you could share the slides, and I said yes, of course. And then I don't know that I did that. So
you didn't, because I didn't send it to you. And
right.
today I already sent you a link to the bibliography.
I got that.
I'm going to send you a link to the presentation as well.
Okay, great. Thanks. And those link to these organizations that we can learn more about.
Exactly. That's all going to be in there. Okay. And of course, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know how people feel about this, but you know, this guy is trying to save these people, and he was arrested. For me, you know, getting this guy out of his home and, you know, getting him to pay Chevron, the local people, because Chevron is responsible for these people and they're not taking responsibility. So, you know, getting the companies that cause this damage to take account, to become accountable and take responsibility, that's a big change. And the Sunrise Movement, I just recently learned about it. The Sunrise Movement in the United States is one of the movements that actually promoted the Green New Deal in the United States. So definitely they have tons of hubs, and I put this out here, and there's going to be a link to this. So this is definitely something you can look into and see what you can do out in the United This. And so right before I just wanted to share with you how this journey, how I started this journey, because really I started out really as a bicycle activist. I started out as a bicycle activist because I thought to myself, wow, the bicycle is such a great it's such a great vehicle, and it's, you know, there's no pollution, no noise. It's so wonderful. Why don't we have any bicycle lanes here? And I started with bicycles, really. I really started when I always thought there should be more bicycle lanes, but it really started when bicycle riders started getting tickets for riding the bikes on off the lane, which was just like a drawing on the sidewalk. I thought that was ridiculous. And so I got together with people, and we had this huge protest. And then we had we kind of created this community, and this one protest turned into a lot of other protests, into die-ins. We did this project where we put up 475 signs that say "Get fined or get killed," because you either got a fine for not riding.
I think you need to break down a little bit because this might be clearer to you than it is to the rest of us, because this is all in Hebrew for some people who don't read Hebrew. So
no, so I'm saying it's get fined or get killed. It doesn't matter. We did these people and I, we did tons of stuff, such as doing clandestine bicycle lanes, and we gave lectures to people. When I got a ticket, I made a huge deal out of it. We posted it. How is it the bicycle get tickets in such a dangerous intersection?
So that's what's not clear to me. Can you explain why were you getting tickets? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, because bicycle riders have to use, this is true for some places in the world, not for all places in the world. Progressive.
This is the experience in Israel, correct?
Yeah. So basically your bicycle riders are required to ride on a bicycle lane in Israel, even if the bicycle lane is not good. So bicycle riders can't ride on the street if there's a bicycle lane that's right there. And so I avoided this bicycle lane because, as you can see, first of all, it's painted on the sidewalk. And here, this place is a sidewalk that doesn't even have station for the bicycle lane. It's just a sidewalk. There's not even a bicycle lane painted on the sidewalk. And so I avoided this section altogether by riding on the street. and I got a ticket riding on the street over here, even though this is a really bad lane. But it's really just a small detail. I didn't want to go so much into it, but
No, I don't want the details. I just want the kind of the overview, because I think that people need more of a background, I think. So whatever, go on.
okay, so I'll just show you this really super quick video. We did a few of these fun and useful and inspiring activities.
In order to facilitate bike lanes, correct?
That's right. That's the page. Okay, so that's
Can you explain to us what we just saw?
Yeah, we did a few of those. What you just saw is an intersection in the Bima Square. It's called Kikara Bima. This place connects 4 different bicycle lanes that are already out there, that are part of a boulevard, the bicycle lanes are right in between trees. And so it's like a star. It's this is actually the place right here where we see here. This is the back of this place. And what they would do is they would give people tickets going through this piazza. It's like a big place. They would give people tickets instead of providing a bicycle lane where people can ride their bikes. So what we did is we're like, okay, you guys are not going to do this. Well, we're going to do it. And we're going to show you how easy it is to do it. And then a few years later, the chief
municipality,
the Sganit Rosh Ha'ir, the chief mayor, the deputy mayor, if you like, the deputy mayor who is responsible for infrastructure, mentioned us. And they were like, sometimes we need a little help from people to show us what to do. She actually posted that. She mentioned the lane that we created.
So what you did is you took like a big intersection that had bicycle lanes coming to it, but you couldn't ride through the intersection. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, because there was no bicycle lane through the intersection.
Right.
So we just went, and so now if you can see, do you see white kind of pillar-y thingies are? These white rectangular kind of, do you see that right there in this image? So the bicycle lane is right behind it. What we see here is behind this, but a little bit more towards the end. So I started my way with bicycles. I produced the first World Bicycle Day in Israel. The first one was in 2017, and so in the first one was in 2018, and we missed that one. And so the second one in 2019, the second World Bicycle Day, we celebrated. We had a huge event in Tel Aviv, and everything was really great. And the municipality wasn't really listening to us. It took them a long time to really pay attention to us. But, we also went to board meetings wherever we could. And so when we started going to board meetings, we also realized that what's happening is that they want to make bicycles, but they're really cutting down trees to do that. And that was really something that was very difficult for me to live with. And so from at the beginning, if at the beginning our battle was we want bicycle lanes, now, my battle has become, we don't want bicycle lanes. We don't want bicycle lanes, because they keep cutting down the trees. And so we suggested, I don't know if we have time for this video. I'm going to wrap it up and leave time for questions. This video, we proposed to create bicycle lanes instead of cutting them down, to have the bicycle lanes, the trees in between the bicycle lanes. Because what they're doing now, they're making a train, and they want to cut down all these trees. right through the trees. Why would you want to cut down the trees? And so this is our call. We would not let go. We wrote letters. We went to meetings. We sent appeals. We posted on Facebook. I didn't sleep for about 2 weeks straight. We saved these trees, people. We saved these trees. All these trees that you see right here, we saved them. And we saved 100 more trees. But we also didn't save thousands of other trees. And when I realized that our trees, actually I should stop that, otherwise it's gonna play again. Play something else again. No, cancel.
I'll the quote, Tanya.
Wild Israel takes you to the lowest place on earth.
And so, you know, with the when I realized this, I still tried to, you know, I tried to team up with pedestrians, and I tried to team up with Greenpeace. You know, I'm still into bicycles, and on the last World Bicycle Day, you know, it was already COVID going on. We couldn't have an event, but we did have an online event. I'm still into bicycles. I promote the Ride of Silence. I'm in the Ride of Silence every year. That it takes place everywhere across the world. The Ride of Silence once a year in memory of all the people who died on the bicycle. Every year that happens everywhere around the world. Critical Mass is a monthly ride. I still go to Critical Mass once a month. I
want to interject that we have Critical Mass in New Jersey. In case it's usually on Friday night they ride, so that's Shabbat. So I don't know. You may have a moral dilemma.
Okay, no, but riding a bicycle is, you know, it's not.
Yeah, we have Shabbat services though. Just saying.
Oh, of course. Forget it. Forget Critical Mass. I'm just kidding. I'm not. I am. I don't know. So I just wanted to say that, like, today, although I am into bicycles, this is my thing. I've been giving lectures about trees. I've created a team in my school to see what we can do to save trees. I have partners. They're all women. I don't know. Coincidence? I don't know. That I work with. None of the things I have ever accomplished have been done alone. It's always with the help of other people, with the support of my wonderful family, my husband who takes care of the kids when I'm never around or in meetings, and my wonderful children who take care of themselves and each other and me sometimes, because really you can't do anything alone, really. So in the very few moments that we have left, questions, requests, and I will send all of this information to you.
So thank you. This was really great. And I just wanted to pass on that Ellen had to leave early, but she was just texting me that you did a great job and all your information is really good. And, you know, she had to go TA a class or something.
Completely understandable. Thank you so much.
So yeah, it is all about taking action, right? In anything that we do. If we want to see change, there's this education piece and then there's this action piece, right? So like I think about from my little home right here, I can think of 3 projects that need to be done within a half mile of my house. One is that it would be lovely to ride my bike into Morristown, but for the most part, there's some lanes and I could maybe even get there, except there's this one section between my house and maybe a mile away from me where it's really not possible. It's a busy road and there's no way to do it. And the sidewalks are terribly unkept. You know, it's just, that project could be done. And all it would take would be for me to probably go to the municipal meeting and say, can we at least put in a section between here and here, right?
Absolutely.
The Whippany River here, which I walk by all the time. The Whippany River goes right through town and it meanders. There's this one section where if you look down, there's just like tons of litter on this island in the middle of the river. And I always think as I walk by, somebody needs to clean that up. And why are we funding Girl Scout and Boy Scout projects, Eagle projects, where they're like building benches here and building benches there, and there's another bench over there? And why don't we just have one like happy Eagle Scout go take his buddies out there one weekend and like clean up those islands, like
Nothing
go
better.
for it, right? And then the other one
Absolutely.
is our ShopRite grocery store, where if you notice when you walk in, if you look off to the right, there's like a whole pile of litter and paper and plastic bags, and it's super ugly because people must just get their groceries and then just throw the bags right there. I don't know what they do, but it's just stupid. That's another one where instead of building another bench on another path, like we could fund some of these kids who want to get their little gold things and have them do those projects.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And now it's on YouTube, so go Gail.
And if this is like a local supermarket where the people, then you can also, or even if you don't, you can get to know them, and you can also ask them, maybe they can sell reusable bags.
They do.
Brick bags, no, even for fruit and vegetables. Whereas, okay, if they do, then great. Then maybe you guys can find a way to maybe encourage people, even put up signs, because a lot of it has to do with awareness. And
well, with COVID, we were kind of making progress in that regard. And then when COVID hit, a bunch of the grocery stores said, "Oh, we can't let people bring in their own bags." What? So now we have to take plastic and paper again? This is so stupid. I can't even believe it. But yeah, we've got a million problems.
Yes. So those sound like great ideas, and I'm really happy.
Anybody can look around. I'm telling you, a mile, just do a mile radius around your house and find things that don't make sense, and then maybe, do more than I'm doing, which is just whine about it. But
thank you so much, Gail. Carol, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to comment. We participated in a Zoom thing the other night with Bill Gates launching his new book on the climate. And one of the things he talked about was that he knows he personally, as a very rich man, has a very large carbon footprint. He flies his own plane. He's got, cars and houses, whatever. And so he pays, and this, I didn't understand what he was talking about. I thought he used like 7 million, some very large amount to try to offset his carbon footprint, but I didn't understand who he pays it to or what they use it for. If that's, and I don't know if you know anything about that in terms of individuals, because you hear about companies being able to buy and trade and sell the amount of carbon that they're going to be allowed to release into the atmosphere, and that's a program that's gets some attention. I hadn't heard of anything like that to try to compensate for the individual footprint.
That's such an interesting idea.
Yeah, and I just was really.
I followed that completely.
Well, okay, so sometimes I think about that too. Like if there's this whole carbon, you've got your carbon footprint, right? And there you can go online and you can sort of find out what you're contributing to that. And if you take an airplane anywhere, it's a pretty big hit on that carbon footprint. So if I think about what do I enjoy in life, well, I really do like traveling. And is it something I'm willing to give up? And the answer is outside of COVID, no, not really. I really do want to go see the world, right? So what would I do? I guess the question is, if I'm a responsible human and I've got some money to travel the world, then why wouldn't I use some of that money to offset my carbon footprint? And maybe that could be like put in place. I don't know that Bill Gates might be doing it for himself.
I'm not sure what you mean by offset my foot.
Like if I'm going to spend the money on my air travel, then I should take an equal amount of money, or it just, and I should map out, if I'm using this carbon footprint, how can I go put my resources toward reducing carbon footprint in some other way?
Maybe compensating by donating some of the same amount of money to organizations that will, maybe even some of those organizations you spoke of, that like if you support those organizations, you're actually, supporting.
But doing it in a way where you're actually saying, I use this much carbon footprint and I'm going to donate resources. It doesn't have to be a dollar for dollar thing. It can be like a carbon footprint for carbon footprint.
As far as I understand, like offsetting your carbon footprint doesn't have anything to do with money. It has to do with, let's say you fly an airplane, so you also plant, I don't know, a forest, or I don't know. I don't know how much how a flight is to like how many trees.
You have to plant a lot of forest.
Yeah, you'd have to plant a lot of forests. So because I don't, like, from my understanding, it's not from my understanding, it's from scientists, like it's not, you know, scientists say that we have already reached our cap, our carbon cap, as a world, as humanity. We've already reached our cap because we're not reducing, because we've only increased our carbon emissions since we said that we're going to decrease, since we said we're going to stop emitting carbon dioxide. We've only increased. So like the only thing to do is to stop the emissions. Like I can't think of something else that could make sense, that you can't buy that. You can't buy less carbon emissions. You can't buy that. You need
but you can think about offsetting it, right? So you can say
the whole problem with offsetting, which has
absolutely like planning.
Matt has something.
I was just going to say that this whole approach to offsetting carbon production has been looked at. We just recently read Naomi Klein's book on the environment. And basically the problem is that this is the rich man's solution. This is the Bill Gates solution. I'll just buy my way out. And the criticism is that you really are not reducing carbon emissions. You're just trying to, you're accepting
to rationalize
it's going to be. I'm just going to grow more trees in the Amazon. And there's a lot of concern that doesn't really get at the basic problem of trying to reduce the emissions. People have looked at a whole series of ways of dealing with this. One of the more ridiculous ones, in my sense, is putting things up in the atmosphere that will reflect so that you'll have less cooling, pumping, I don't know, sulfates or sulfur in some way.
I've seen that, yeah.
Into the atmosphere, putting reflective, shields of some sort. All of those seem to be preposterous. I shouldn't say this, but I look at this as, or two things. One is the concept of delayed gratification, and actually, why people do irrational things. Unless you can make the immediate thing that we're doing favorable, people are not going to be willing to say, well, in 20 years or 30 years, if we don't do this, we're going to be in trouble. Rather, they say, I'm having fun doing what I'm doing right now. I'm consuming and I'm doing all those things. To hell with the things that are going to happen 30 years from now. Besides, we'll figure it out 30 years from now.
Yeah.
So there's
exactly.
That's
exactly, because we don't see it right now. And you're absolutely right, because we don't see yet the devastating effects, but absolutely, I mean, flying will be possible with renewable energy. There's already technologies that can bring you shorter distances on an airplane that only uses solar energy. Okay, there are cars that produce water, and that run on hydrogen, and they don't run on gas. There are hybrid cars that you can get right now that use part energy, part solar energy, or batteries that are charged with solar energy, and fuels. Those are hybrid cars right now, but there are a lot of solutions. There are a lot of solutions out there, but we need to push our politicians to listen to us and to make this change. I mean, I'm saying, like, this is my opinion. Yes, stop flying right now. So in a few years, we will be able to fly using solar energy. And I'm not saying that solar energy is, once we use solar energy, we won't have any more problems. No, I mean, the batteries and the batteries and the materials that we need to create this energy also, uses natural resources. And we also, when we dispose of batteries, we have to do that very carefully. We can't just throw them out. So, I mean, it's not going to be a perfect world once we stop burning fossil fuels, but we need to make this change. And there are technological solutions that we can replace the ones that we're using now. The question is, where does our money go? And we as people can decide where our money goes. So, and what we do in our lives, that's our choice.
If I could just add two real quick things. The other thing Bill Gates said, I think, is that there are new fuels, plant-based fuels for planes, and that he tries whenever possible to use those kind of fuels in his private airplanes, despite the cost. That helps.
All of his private airplanes? Or some of them?
I don't know exactly how many. Whether it's one or more, I don't know. But the other thing I think, when you talk about what can you do to motivate us as individuals to work towards solving a problem, the dire consequences of which are maybe in the distant future, it's frustrating that if we even look with the focus on recycling, where the town we live in, Denville, went to a system of one stream recycling, they called it, so everything was put together. Then the town stopped that because they said there was no market for it anymore. They couldn't sell, there was so much stuff being recycled, they couldn't sell it. And so now we separate out paper products, because with all the online ordering induced by the pandemic, there's a big need for boxes to ship things in. So we separate paper stuff because that they can sell, and the plastic and glass, I don't know what they do with that. That's picked up, but it's treated differently. The harder you make it to recycle, and the more times you're changing the rules, the less inclined I think many people are.
Absolutely.
To bother. So I think that's a real problem too.
Yeah, and that's also something that you can, talk to your politicians, to your local politicians, and see what you can do, what they can do to make it easier for people. Even if it's, even if they might already have a system going that people don't know about because they don't communicate it properly. So maybe they should have more signs. Maybe they should, send a letter or an email, or there are ways that the municipality or that the government can communicate with people and let them know what is best, and request it. Request them to provide ways for people to dispose of their waste in a way that it'll get recycled. Absolutely.
Sandra had a comment earlier, so can we?
Sorry, yes, please.
So my comment is, I struggle also to find ways where I can individually contribute to fixing this issue. And one thing I found was getting active in my local green team. So Chatham has a very active green team, and it's working with the Environmental Commission of the town. And they come up with all sorts of projects that are more or less easy to put in place depending on what they are. But things they've looked into is putting EV charging stations for the electrical vehicles to encourage people to switch to electric vehicles rather than gas guzzlers. Yeah. They've also looked into putting equipment on the municipal buildings to have solar panels, so that they use that property that the town has to create green energy. Another things they're looking into is, as a town, I guess, contracting with other suppliers of gas and electric utility companies so that they choose and they offer the constituents rather than just PSENG and JCP&L. Is there another supplier out there that uses more green energy to produce the energy that we use as a town, so that I have options to not just have JCP&L. I can go with somebody who's greener than that. They've also looked into like composting and things like that. So at a local level, we can join these teams and they will communicate with other nearby towns. And back to Gail's comment about the Boy Scouts, that's a great option. And it is already happening to some extent, because during the pandemic, when we're in lockdown, my daughter needed hours for her Boy Scout project or whatever. We went garbage collecting with a troop in the town. So yes, there are definitely ways to use those Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who have a lot of energy and need a lot of community hours to make their projects and get their ranking.
That's
Thanks
great.
for that, Sandra. And I want to say, I feel like I would be remiss if I wouldn't mention two things while we're still on the YouTube live stream, is that we have a social action committee headed by Tanya Simon and Judy Stein-Lowenthal at our temple. And also there is the larger Religious Action Center, which is our reform movement's lobbyist organization for government in Washington, D.C. And there's currently a local chapter that began about 2 or 3 years ago in New Jersey, in order for us to really be active in the matters of our local government in New Jersey. And again, it's a lobbyist organization, so it deals with everything from, climate change to immigration to gun control. It's much more, global. It has many endeavors, but any one of us at Temple B'nai Or who are so inclined is welcome to engage either through our temple religious action committee or through the Religious Action Center of the Reform Movement nationally or locally. There's definitely lots of venues. And on that note, I'm not keeping
Wait.
I just want to stop the live stream because it's
Oh, okay.
going for an hour and a half. So I'm
Okay.
going to say an official thank you and stop the live stream. And we're welcome to continue to chat and come up with some genius ways to move us forward. So Tanya, thank you so much. And thank you all for